welcome to Bingemas, a 12-part holiday special here on the Ringer Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jodi Walker, and we are on day 9 of binging this year's best original holiday offerings with all your Ringer faves. And today that means My Secret Santa, the #1 movie on Netflix as we speak, a movie about the rising threat of nepo babies and how your work is not your family and your ski resort is not your family and Santa is not your family, unless, of course, Santa is your mom. It is a movie that I expected to be She's the Man, but made a hard pivot to Mrs. Doubtfire, parental desperation, and the exorbitant cost of children's camps these days, and it never looked back. But no worries, because in this world, Santa is currency. And to break down Netflix's now standard seasonal bout of psychological warfare, I could really only turn to the Ringer's king of physical media himself, a guy who loves nothing more than a good time at the movies and whatever this was, and a treasured, highly accomplished colleague who I can't believe I made watch one of the most Scooby-Dooby-Dooian mask reveals ever put to screen. Sean Fennessey, Merry Bingemas, how are you?
Oh, Merry Bingemas. I'm doing fine in the aftermath of having viewed the film. And I'm very honored and happy to be here. And this will be an interesting discussion of cinema.
It sure will. And thank you for calling it that. I chose this movie very specifically for you, Sean. I knew that you watched Hot Frosty last year. This year of Netflix's offerings, it felt the most Freudian-esque.
How so?
In that it is very high concept. It is insane. It guarantees to be much more focused on the absurdity than the romance. But it is very un-Freudian-esque in that there was very little magic and much more latex.
Yeah, which, as a longtime horror movie prosthetics fan and admirer, that aspect of it was appealing. Yeah. And I do love a high concept film. Hot Frosty, I think, transitioned from magical to phantasmagoric at a certain point. And so the groundedness of this film made me feel safe in some ways and not in all ways. And I appreciate you thinking of my interest and taste. While not just plunging me into another typical rom-com-ish holiday season film, but I do have some notes. I have some notes about this film. But you feel that I
missed in a few ways, ultimately, vis-a-vis your taste.
Well, no, I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been better. I don't know. What's been the best thing you've watched so far through the first 8 days?
It's a great question. Joanna and I watched a movie called Merry Christmas, Ted Cooper about a weatherman that was actually written by the writer of Hot Frosty and was also very grounded in humanity. Not a lot of magic, very funny, very much about a weatherman, about a romantic relationship. And that's probably the one that I've enjoyed the most. But I also so enjoy and really... This movie actually sort of dares to say the thesis of Bingemas out loud, which is, this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. When do we start? and this one really gets there with that.
Yeah, I don't know that I needed this, like a movie, to be truly human focused and grounded and emotional for this to work. And I will tell you, I watched this movie with my wife last night, and we don't watch a lot of movies like this historically, but that doesn't mean that we didn't used to watch a lot of movies like this. It's just, I'm in an unfortunate era of my life where I have to watch every art house film ever released. And I can't have as many frivolous, silly engagements as I used to. So it was nice to have a reason to do so. And about 47 minutes into the film, which, we were lightly mocking while we were watching it. I'll be honest with you, Jodi.
That's important. That's actually important to do here today.
Yeah, I assume we'd be also doing some mocking, you and I. But she turned to me and she said, I'm going to tell you, this is charming. And I couldn't totally disagree, despite having some notes.
I think that the performance by Alexandra Breckenridge is very charming. The reason that I expected a She's the Man, which is not, so different from a Mrs. Doubtfire, but Alexandra Breckenridge was in She's the Man, another gender bend, gender swap movie with Amanda Bynes.
Sebastian, not good.
And so I think I expected more silliness. And what I found was a Mrs. Doubtfire, which is a sort of like parental desperation fueled gender bend. Well, Sean, frankly, I thought about you constantly while watching this movie. And
that's troubling for so many reasons.
I knew that you would be watching it as well. And I just kept thinking, what is he thinking? But I was also thinking about that you are a father, and would you dress up as Santa, or maybe in this case, Mrs. Claus, in order to get your child into the ski or snowboard camp of their choice?
The answer is yes.
Right?
I simply would dress as Mrs. Claus to get my daughter into the ski camp of her choice, which I guess is that really the crucial dynamic here? Can this, I guess, young middle-aged single mom find love, money, and safe harbor for her child between the hours of 9 and 3?
And are those not real human issues? Is the exorbitant cost of childcare not a real thing plaguing us?
You're right. This is like the best years of our lives from 1944, but today, right. just projected directly onto modern concerns, such as, is my brother-in-law a skilled latex artist who can make me look like Santa Claus?
Yes. Again, rips directly from the Mrs. Doubtfire headlines. I guess quickly before we get into the plot, which is very fueled by snowboarding school, I'll just give the Netflix synopsis, which always keeps it brief so that we're all on the same page. It's basically what you said. A single mom needs a job. A ski resort needs a Santa. Disguised as a Saint Nick lookalike, can Taylor fool a charming hotel heir into ho-ho hiring her? You got to admit, the copywriters went off on that one.
Ho-ho hiring her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of sort of what's going on here. I know there's a whole rubric of questions here, but the launch into this film, I found to be slightly confusing. Did Alexandra Breckenridge's character work at a cookie company?
Well, as we like to say on the pod, her job was cookie. That comes up a lot. And yes, at the beginning, I thought we were about to experience a totally different thing. I assign these movies so far back. Sometimes I just forget what I'm going into, and I like to go in with that kind of whimsy. And I thought we were getting into a cookie tale. And also in that cookie job where she works at a store-bought cookie factory. And as we hear, the numbers on store-bought cookies are down. They're suffering. And so there are going to be losses. And ultimately, Taylor is one of those. She's sort of the floor manager. She's checking these pristine cookies, and she's not loving what she's seeing. She seems pretty strict in that role.
Yeah, and so is the idea that she had too heavy a hand, and so she was the first to go during layoffs? Like, I'm not totally sure I understand the dynamic. Also, like, it seems like it's December 17th, like, theoretically a very busy time.
And theoretically not the time at which you would hire a Santa at your fancy ski resort. Theoretically a time that you would already have that on lock.
Right. Also, not to be too grim about this, but I guess the layoffs would be happening at the end of the year, right? To close out the tax statement. What's the logic there?
Well, she points it out herself. And in that way, the movie has really shored up the loophole that you're talking about. He says, there's no good time to do this. And she says, so you chose Christmas?
Yeah. And I guess there's like the echoes of A Christmas Carol in that choice, and, not getting the Christmas bonus in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And this idea of this being a very anxious time for families because they can't afford to buy Christmas presents, let alone their rent, in the case of My Secret Santa. A lot of Christmas movies, not just Bingemas movies, not just this era of streaming, are about economic anxiety.
Oh, yes.
And, I had a single mom. My single mom was fucking stressed, man, all the time. And often about money. And so I have some empathy for the setup for this story, deranged as the cookie, the processed cookie factory experience may be. But the pivot is a lot. So we'll talk about the pivot.
Yeah, well, we start, and as most of these movies do in this very real thing, I mean, most of these movies are about capitalism and about like the weight and tolls of capitalism and how we subscribe to it and try not to, and how we balance these various things. And especially as this single mother. I mean, it's like the first thing we hear her say is, "You can't do this to me. I have a daughter that I have to feed. We're barely making ends meet." And then as soon as she gets home, who should open the door but the landlord asking for the rent? And ultimately, we find our meet cute in her just trying to sell a few records, just trying to sell a few vinyls in a used record store, and kind of being undersold, and then kind of being like mansplained records by the man that we are ultimately supposed to enjoy and find charming. And I would say that was my biggest issue with the movie.
As a man who has explained the value of physical media in the past, I have some empathy for the Matthew character, but not too much empathy.
Right. I think that I could have excused and he is using his privilege for good. He does get her more money. Mm-hmm. He does tell her, we find out in this moment as she meets cute with Matthew, that she used to be in a band called the Screaming Kittens when she was very young. They made one album, and it was a very local band. What was your understanding of where this place was?
I genuinely don't know the timeline. Like, is Alexandra Breckenridge's character 40? Is she 32? Is she 48? Like, I genuinely don't know. And so it's kind of hard to locate, like, were the Screaming Kittens a kind of dashboard confessional era, like, emo pop band? Were they a post-grunge hard rock girl group? Were they a cool Elastica style mid-90s band? Were they, more like Katy Perry inflected pop rock? Like, I couldn't place it.
Yes, we're playing very loosely with time and space and Santa.
Is this film set in 2025?
Yes.
Do we know that for sure?
We don't know it for sure, but usually if it's not, we are told. But there aren't a lot of there aren't a lot of markers for that kind of thing. There aren't a lot of phones ever. There's not a lot of, texting or technology. Everybody's just putting on Santa suits and talking to each other and going to record stores. But what we do know is that she got pregnant unexpectedly in college. So she was probably, and like dropped out. She was probably like somewhere between 20 and 22. Her daughter seems to be about 15.
Okay.
And on the Olympic track to snowboarding.
Sure.
So I think she's supposed to be in her mid-30s. Okay. And I think that she was doing the music thing.
So she was in college and had a record deal?
Yeah.
That seems a little inconsistent.
Well, she's very talented.
She is, and I do believe that women can have it all, so I don't want to take that away from Taylor Jacobson.
Well, they can until they can't, until they're mothers.
No, they can have a daughter, and they can have one record, and they can have a college degree. Mm-hmm. Those are all of the things, right? Is there anything else that a woman would want besides those three things?
Just to like have them all at the same time, probably.
Yeah.
Just like,
Well, I didn't say you could have it all simultaneously.
Yeah.
Just that you could have it and then lose it.
What is this? A perfect world where you fall in love with a millionaire heir who is both useless, doesn't have a job, but also the nicest man you've ever met in the world.
And he really likes you from the moment he meets you.
Yeah, almost in a way where it kind of makes you feel like, is he putting this woman on a pedestal that she can never achieve in a sort of two-dimensional way because she was in a cool, I don't know, emo pop rock, some sort of band that he respects music, and so he must respect her.
Yeah, she's an artist, and he sees her as an artist and a woman, as an independent person, but also a person worthy of love. Mm-hmm. And that he's also a man who's reached a critical stage of his life in which he's recognized the shallowness of his experience and needs to shatter the glass under which he has been living and get to the real world, get out from that cave of privilege and meet a regular gal who can't afford to pay the rent, who can make him realize what it's all about, which is paying for your wife. Yes.
Who he should be.
Right.
I thought you were going to say he could shatter what sounds to be most of an Italian town, which is what we find out that is the most recent sort of like, he's sort of like, Ryan Eggold is 41. And this character really seemed to be painted as sort of like a 22-year-old Prince Harry. He is the, ne'er-do-well heir son. He's sort of like an amalgamation of all the Roy boys. Despite being a 41-year-old man and basically saying, I've changed. Really in the last week since I drove my car through what sounds to be an Italian cafe, I've changed and I'm in love with your spirit.
Yeah. And also the spirit of Santa Claus, we learn eventually.
I really did not expect them to lean as far in as they did to him sort of dealing with his attraction to an elderly male Santa who he undresses in front of immediately.
Yeah.
And at one point...
Ryan Eggold pretty yoked. I was like, whoa.
Quite yoked.
Do you think he asked for the shirtless scene?
Well, Netflix actually contractually owes us one shirtless scene in every original holiday movie.
Got it.
And
okay.
that's what sets them apart from Hallmark.
That's why you're the expert, too. That's the
right.
sort of shit that you know.
I know that. And I especially know because when Kate Hallowell was on, we were watching a Netflix film that featured another sort of like man-child male lead played by a very charming actor. So I really didn't enjoy not rooting for him. I was rooting for him. I found them to have a likable chemistry. I found his character to be destructive, thoughtless, and ruining everyone in his path.
Yeah. Kind of manic pixie nepo monster, I would say. You know?
And I could
imagine. A
imagine.
man does not exist. There's no human in the world that resembles Matthew Lane.
No, if you meet Matthew Lane in the real world, he is so evidently a monster. He is visually, physically, and viscerally a monster, whereas this man is sort of a sweet boy who is a sweet 41-year-old boy who has returned to his hometown, meets this gal in a record store, asks her on a date. She says no for reasons we don't totally understand at the time, but she's busy. She's got to find a job. She's selling records. And ultimately, via her gay brother and his partner, who are just there to serve. They're there to Google stuff for her.
Yeah.
When she goes there to, complain about losing her job and say, you might deal in this more than I do. Would a child find out that they had just gotten into snowboarding camp a week before I think like $15,000 snowboarding camp started?
I mean, the answer is no.
Okay.
I am interested in the daughter opening her own mail because that's not something I know about yet. And it's like, will my daughter open her own mail when she's 14? I guess she will. Did you open? I guess I did when I was 14, right?
Yeah, because at that age, it's very exciting to receive mail.
Yeah. Especially when it's from some sort of school,
Yeah.
And you're like, did I get into snowboarding camp?
That I secretly applied to on my iPad, where I sometimes watch the news when my
How
mom
much
comes
does it cost
home.
again? Did we get a number on that?
No, there's a lot of reference throughout the movie in different scenarios, not just the camp, to how many zeros a number contains. And so we know that this one contains more zeros than expected, which suggested to me 4 zeros.
Okay.
I believe that it is, maybe
like a $20,000 snowboarding camp?
Yes.
Is that in play?
No.
Wait, are they
not.
Are they in Utah? Is this Sundance? Is that where they are? Because there's a Sundance Lodge sign at a certain point in the film. So it felt like Utah, but I'm like, I guess Utah is a wealthy community. Like there's wealthy communities in Utah and it's a big ski industrial complex there. So it's plausible, but 4 zeros and you just learned about it a week before it begins?
And
that seems pretty intense.
Maybe it's 8,000. We're playing with numbers fast and loose because what the brothers find out, or the brother and the brother-in-law find out, is that if you work at Sun Peaks Lodge, you can get 50% off of snow camp. That's a steep discount.
It is, and convenient for the plotting of this film.
Yes, there is a lot of convenience, including that when Taylor goes to the ski resort to see about getting a job there, she'll do anything. She just easily overhears ultimately the person I could not believe to be set up as the villain of this movie. Not only because she's Tia Mowry, who is historically a hero in these movies, but also because she is the Black woman who is really good at her job and seems like she's going to be made general manager. And then who should swoop in but the nepo baby son and the Santa Claus that he's dating to rob her of that opportunity?
Yeah, I would say not the most socially conscious original film that I've yet seen. I'm not sure what the messaging of this film is. Quick question about Tia Mowry. So I have not kept up with post Sister. I'm not really up on the Mowrys. You know, I don't really.
It's been a while.
I know they've been working, and I wish them all the best or whatever. But like, they're no longer a package deal.
Very much no. And if you would like to come on We're Obsessed sometime for us to explain the full lore on this, you know, would be happy to. But they've really been like not publicly seen together in a very long time and seem to have been on the outs. But if it makes you feel any better, recently they seem to have come back together.
But do they have like different shades in their performance style now that they've separated? Is there something that distinguishes Tia and Tamara like in some meaningful way as performers?
Maybe not as performers, but in the roles that they are often cast in. I've always found Tia to be a little more uptight, play a kind of an uptight, more maybe snobbish character like this, and Tamara to be a little looser. Tamara is often on Lifetime as well, which is a very different flavor of this kind of movie.
I see that Tia has not made a film since 2018's Indivisible. Did you see that movie?
I did not see Indivisible.
It's based on the true story of Darren Turner, a United States Army chaplain who struggles to balance his faith in the Iraq War.
No, I didn't catch that one.
Okay, Tia Mowry was sixth billed in this film. That's her last movie 7 years ago.
Okay.
So maybe this was just a good gig for her?
Yeah, and it is a good gig. She is responsible for one of my cries in the movie.
One of. My word.
I know. It's an emotional, Bingemas is an emotional time around here. You have to give yourself to the film. And there are just like a lot of messages. I mean, I'm just going to say it. The twist. I actually did not see the twist coming ultimately. That the girl who is bullying Taylor's daughter in ski school is Natasha's daughter. And in that moment, when you learn that, you see Natasha as human and you see her as a woman who has recently gone through a divorce and also become a single parent herself.
This made you cry?
Not that exact moment.
Okay.
But I believe that there is a time when Ava, the daughter, calls out for her mom. Actually, don't want to get to the ultimate reveal too fast. That got me a little misty. It's not my biggest cry of the film.
Yeah.
It was a little choked up.
No, it reminds me a lot of Ingmar Bergman's Persona or Robert Altman's Three Women in the way that, those filmmakers sort of use the thin barrier of femininity where every woman is sort of the same, but also immaculately different in unique ways, and that this consciousness it's all shared, but we are all separated by these human bodies. I feel that this film and the struggle between Taylor Jacobson and Natasha Burton, whose name I'm just learning for the first time speaking with you and didn't clock while watching the movie, is really like it's a portrait of modern womanhood, and bracing and fearless.
And I'd just like for you to entertain the idea that maybe had you been a woman dressed as Santa Claus, you might have cried too.
It's totally possible. Have you dressed as Santa Claus in your past?
Not with like full cheeks, top cheeks. I've worn a Santa hat, certainly. Have I ever worn a beard? I don't think so.
Is now the time to talk about the makeup and Alexandra Breckenridge's countenance as Santa?
Absolutely, because from the moment that she learns that there is a Santa job, it's actually not from the moment. She needs a slight amount of convincing that this is feasible and that she needs to do this for her daughters. But it's already been set up that her brother and brother-in-law are obsessed with Halloween. And so that the Mrs. Doubtfire makeover montage is coming. What did you think about the ultimate Santa costume, countenance, vocal performance?
Well, I don't know if this is going to be considered gendered in some way, but Alexandra Breckenridge just has lady eyes. I don't really know how to put it any other way.
She sure does.
When you're looking at her face, you're like, that's a lady's pair of eyes.
And your bro, Matthew Lane, would agree with you.
Yeah, and he's getting completely lost in Santa's soul when they're having conversations, which is adorable, but also a little slightly deranged.
It's funny, I feel like I can talk to you, you know? The truth is I can't stop thinking about her.
And I think that she's trying. Vocal performance, I would say, quite poor. Not really a credible. There is a Santa tonality. It is universal. It is deep and grandfatherly and ho, ho, ho. A depth of tone, profundo, bass. That's what we're going for. And, she can't get there. Like, no. She is a soprano. And that's tough when you're not. How did she get the job is really my big question. Like, this woman is not Santa Claus. Clearly.
Everyone in the movie is desperate. There is a woman in, financial disrepair. There is a ski resort without a Santa, which in the stakes of the film are equally aligned. Those are equal stakes.
Can we interrogate that though?
Yes.
Why does the ski resort need a Santa so bad? What is the Santa doing?
Well, they seem to forget many times throughout the film that this is a family resort where children come to and children need to enjoy themselves. But what's funny about that to me is that throughout the movie, adults are so obsessed with Santa. Anytime that there is a speech, that Matthew Lane gives a speech, adults are out in the crowd just demanding Santa. The media of this small town seems to kind of ebb and flow on Santa. And it seems to be a sort of Santa-based economy. And that is not unusual in these movies. Once there is a Santa in place, he gets sometimes I'm not sure how to gender Santa in this situation, but Taylor as Santa gets kind of panned in a Santa review in the local paper. And so it does seem to be a big deal in this town that you have a good Santa.
Yeah, Santa is a minimized experience. We went to go visit the Santa at a local mall here last Friday with my family.
Okay.
An annual tradition. It's a very nice tradition.
Yes.
It takes 45 minutes. The Santa time, the time spent with Santa, we're talking sub 3 minutes here. This is a modest engagement, even in a ski town that favors Santa culture. And I realize that this Santa changes the game. She opens up the doors to what Santa can be, which is therapist, mother, beacon of positivity and warmth. I get it. I get that that's the premise of the movie. But from the lodge's perspective, this is an incoherent crisis. It's not the guy. I'd love to know more about the guy who was Santa previously, like what kind of magical elixir he was bringing to the table. And if he was so great, why are they so excited about this new Santa who's bringing something else to the table? Are they like overwhelmed by the qualities that Santa can bring to a community for roughly 11 days? The whole premise strains credulity is all I'm saying. Now, I know it's Bingemas, but I need to point this out.
I'm happy to have you bring your facts and figures here. Let me bring you a few facts and figures, which is that this is the most realistic Santa anyone has ever seen. When people see this Santa, they say, I have been moved. I was an adult who didn't believe in Santa anymore. And on Christmas Day, I will not be buying my children presents because I believe that this Santa, who is sort of like prescribing like toothbrushes to children as gifts, Taylor as Santa, once she is made over, finds herself in a real situation where she's having trouble dealing with the pressure of these, we have to assume, rich children at a ski resort asking her for gifts. And she is just projecting. She's like, I don't think your parents can afford that. What about a nice can of soup?
So let's think about the logistics of this. Do you live in an apartment?
Yeah.
Where are you going to keep the pony? In your room? You know it's going to poop on the floor. So, how about a good book for Christmas?
Yeah, I guess, that's a really risky proposition. What you're describing is accepting that this is the real Santa, because then one day it's Christmas morning and your kids wake up and there are no presents under the tree because, spoiler alert, Santa's not real. And you thought
Santa's
that
not even who he says he is. Santa doesn't even have a social security number.
Santa is not even a man.
Santa is not even a man.
So, although he is human.
Okay. When the credits roll and Alexandra Breckenridge was credited with I was like, what is this block of text? What are they listing first before the cast, in the cast? And it was that she had been credited as 3 roles. Taylor, Santa Claus, and Hugh Man, who is the human version of her Santa Claus character. Although once they cast Hugh Man as Santa, she never becomes him again, really. I mean, she is predominantly then in the Santa clothing and the Santa character for the rest of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not since Peter Sellers in Dr. Strangelove have we seen an artist inhabit so many different roles at the same time, you know, so many different consciousnesses, so many different, just her versatility is remarkable, what Breckenridge does. And I for one, was floored.
When we're introduced to her as her job as Cookie, when she got in that murder van, I was like, why is that her car? Why does she have this murder van? And I wondered it for so long. And then eventually it becomes her dressing room to transition in and out of Santa.
It's a great note. I didn't clock that at all. But yeah, that's insane that was her car.
Murder van.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I accepted that, but I did.
The storyline that I ultimately wrote, which is the sort of space that these movies leave for you, is for you to get a little creative and to try to make sense of what's nonsensical. And I know that I ultimately really didn't answer your Santa question in full. I want, to give you the space to get creative as well. I decided that was her van when she was in a band. She's had it ever since, and now it's her Santa van.
15 years ago?
I had a car for 15 years.
But how did she get the car in the first place? If she was just like, do you think she spent her record label advance on the van?
Maybe, yeah, she may have made a little money. And we don't know her parental situation. We know that every daughter we meet in the film doesn't have a dad, and every son we meet doesn't have a mother. But maybe her parents got her that. Maybe they were very supportive of her music career, and she's never talked to them or asked them for anything since.
Okay, sure.
Could be. But yes, as she becomes, I liked that she started as a bad Santa. I did like that as a storytelling note, because she, much like Matthew, did not deserve the job she was given.
No, I'm still a little unclear on how she actually locked that job down, to be honest with you.
Well, I think
like there were other credible Santas in the room.
Oh, Sean. That lineup of Santas.
None of them had lady eyes.
But none of them had seemingly real beards that are ultimately a lace front beard.
Yeah.
Crafted
that was impressive
by
work.
2 talented gay men.
Did those men have jobs? Was their job preparing my Halloween costume 12 months a year?
Their job is Santa. Their job is beard.
I mean, that's what it becomes. It's unclear to me what those men do other than just live in that apartment.
And to her, that seems to be all they are as well. She shows up at their apartment, much like to Matthew. She is just kind of like a former, cool band girl and current woman with pretty eyes. I think she's like, you're my older brother. You are here to help me with this. And at some point, I will ask you to lock yourself in a bathroom stall and help me jiggle in and out of this Santa suit full of lentils.
Yeah, that part also strained credulity. The ease with which she transitioned from Taylor to Santa, back to Taylor, back to Santa. I don't know. It's a lot of... You ever seen like any behind the scenes footage of Rob Bottin's expert makeup for 1982's The Thing? This is not light work. This is hard work, Like, look at the Academy Award-winning makeup artists. Think of the amount of time and effort that they take to make these people transform. And Taylor does it in 40 minutes, 20 minutes?
I had this distinct thought while watching the movie, and I'll tell you why, that Santa had so little face, so little exposed face. And I thought that when the landlord met Santa and immediately believed him to be Taylor's dad dressed as Santa and immediately had the hots for him. And I had this thought of what attracts us to another person? Because she can see so little of his face. He is basically a nose and cheeks. And I wonder if they did create the prosthetics to be very easily and quickly applied, because there's a hat involved. There's a lot that would cover up a lot of the seams.
Mm-hmm.
But
was there a hard cutaway during the big reveal, the big Scooby-Doo moment that you cited? Did it seem like she was actually just removing what had been applied to her the whole time? Or was that like a hard cut to just show the mask coming off instead of seeing the full face? You know what I'm saying?
She takes off, and this was by far my biggest laugh of the film, is that ultimately when, the villain who sows discord, who is actually the person who deserves to have the general manager job, Natasha, Tia Mowry, she's slowly figuring out what's going on here. She actually, though, doesn't fully figure it out. She thinks that Taylor and Santa are working together because Santa has used Taylor's social security number. And it's Tia, he has lady eyes.
Yeah. Maybe she doesn't deserve that general manager position,
You're
given
right.
how long it takes her to figure out what's going on here.
Maybe I would. And also her job is VP of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know the direct transition from marketing to general manager. Those aren't the same jobs.
No, they're not. I don't really understand the whole deal with this lodge. Is this one of the most important places in America?
It is run by a sort of billionaire in the hospitality business who has lodges and resorts all over the world. So one would think it is a White Lotus-like property that is...
But is he on site all the time?
Well, he's often going to New York and saying, but I'll be back in time for the tree lighting.
Right, which is critical, of course, to the bottom line of their business.
He's there right now because it seems that at this lodge, Christmas is the most important time of the year, and Santa is the most important part of Christmas. And that actually is true.
Seems like a fickle business. Not so sure about this.
Have you ever considered that Santa is an idea, as stated by the film, that is shared by all of us? And in that way, Santa is community.
Can you continue to extrapolate on that?
And community is humanity, and humanity is what grounds us all and finds us love in vinyl stores. You ever think about things like that?
I don't think about them, no. Maybe I should. I have a great relationship to getting presents. That's something that I enjoy.
You love to receive a gift.
Yeah, I love to give a gift as well.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than receiving a wonderful gift from someone whom you have given a great gift. That's that magical moment where you're I know I did my part of the bargain.
Yeah.
And then you open up your thing and you're oh, fuck, we did. We are in unison. That's an amazing feeling. Santa actually disrupts that. Santa, he gets in the way of that energy.
From you.
Yeah. Maybe fuck Santa. Maybe.
Maybe Matthew will, And maybe somebody else did in that bathroom.
I think he definitely will. I think that's definitely on his mind.
I did.
Do you think they ever did it after the fact with some Santa gear? Do you think that ever came back into play?
Oh, Sean, I've never been more sure of anything in my life.
It seems plausible.
Because he was dealing with some stuff. And I can extend that to him as someone whose sheer ineptitude and just assumption that he deserved anything that he wanted and a million chances. I can hand him that in the season that I met him in this film, he was dealing with something. And that something was that he was a straight man who had recently been very swept up, taken away by this beautiful woman that he met in a vinyl store and keeps running into again. But he's also really establishing something with this much older man who looks exactly like Santa Claus. And when he immediately asks Santa Claus to tie his tie in the locker room, in the crusty locker room at the luxurious
as one
ski
does,
resort.
Yeah. As a 41-year-old man does.
I would have to ask you, but I assume this is a common male experience.
Yeah, I'm always asking strange old men to tie my tie in public places.
That's what you guys are doing in there, and you're so fast.
It's how I was raised.
Yeah.
Are you saying there's something wrong with it?
Nope. I just wanted a little bit of clarity. I just want to understand your culture. And thank you for sharing it here today.
Yeah.
Hates Santa, ties in the locker room.
As
with
soon as
old
I get
men.
outside this recording, I'm going to go out there and CR is going to be there and he's going to tie my tie.
That's why you're wearing a collared shirt.
That's right. My tie's in my pocket. It's a Santa tie that I'm wearing, actually, ironically.
Of course, because Chris, unfortunately, won't be able to be dressed in Santa and he has to be represented in some way.
That's right. But he does give
exchange.
gifts every day. You know, he has the same energy that Santa
Isn't
would
that
like
the
to
truth?
represent.
Isn't that the truth?
I think, yeah. I mean, I think it's credible to do some sort of Freudian reading of Matthew's relationship to his father and what he's looking for and how he's backfilling some of that, you know, with this father figure who also is a figure of eroticism to him in some ways. Again, lady eyes.
His desperation is that, like, it is quite childlike and kind of sad the way he keeps being like, I wish I could talk to my dad like this. And it's like, they're not talking about anything. She's not even talking back because she has a lady voice.
Yes.
She's barely speaking to him. And at the point at which he drops trowel in front of her / Santa, she's not even gone into her Santa mode. She's very early in her Santa career, and he is just talking to her as this wizened male figure. He is desperate for a male figure in his life.
Yeah, you're right to locate Mrs. Doubtfire here because there's a long history of movies that are like this. For me, the signal edition of this is Just One of the Guys. I don't know if you've seen Just One of the Guys, 1980s comedy that played on HBO nonstop in the 90s.
Wow.
That was about an enterprising young woman who aspired to be a journalist while in high school and essentially refashioned herself as a boy to attend a different high school and report on what it was really like to be a boy in this high school.
And then she did the journalism?
And she,
I will be
sort of.
watching
And she
this
falls
movie.
in love, of course, with a boy. And then there's some complications. Anyway, magical film. Joyce Heiser, just a knockout. It's a great movie. That movie similarly creates this energy of like one person, these two people have heat between them.
Yeah.
And they're quote unquote not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But even in the most absurd circumstances, you're like, are these two about to kiss? And the scene in the bar in My Secret Santa, when he's explaining that he's in love with this lady or that he's really attracted to this lady, and she's not speaking because she has lady voice, but he's like, the fuck me eyes is crazy in that sequence. And I do you know, does the movie know, like, is this a self-aware enterprise? Is it kitsch or is it sincere?
It is self-aware in that it is creating this dynamic. And I would say the point at which it became both like kitsch and sincere. I do believe that it's pulling it off in this one specific way, which is the romantic and potentially sexual relationship between Santa Claus and this billionaire heir to the resort fortune, is when he sees what appears to be Santa Claus's, aka Hugh Mann's, who has become a friend, a father, and a sexual figure to him, his feet under the bathroom door, and he appears to be having sex with another man. No, that's something you're not going to get on Hallmark for sure. I was surprised to get it on Netflix, and Matthew deals with it very calmly, and I wondered how it adjusted his expectations of what might come from his relationship with Santa. And also in that moment, he couldn't find Taylor, his girlfriend, who was having to change back and forth between Santa and Taylor and wearing the most god-awful, ugly, sequined bolero jacket to do so.
It could be that he's had this dawning realization that hopefully we all share, that love is love, you know, and it doesn't really matter where Santa finds it, doesn't really matter where he finds it, and that being open to possibilities and and even in the plurality has could be potentially rewarding, I think.
I'll tell you what, I felt a great amount of relief from Matthew, from the ultimate reveal that Taylor was Santa, aka Human. How did you feel about the way that reveal unfolds itself, from going from the party, the very formal party, which takes place in Santa's workshop where we've spent most of the movie, to outside where there are like real stakes, real health stakes?
You mean in terms of her daughter? Or
yes. I found the unraveling interesting. Like there's a moment, there's a beat where you really feel her deciding between like, do I give myself up? She's actually not caught at first.
Right. So why did she give herself up?
Well, because an unnamed man who we've seen a little bit comes into the room and says, is Taylor Jacobson in the room? I've chosen this room. Maybe he's gone and yelled in several rooms. I have no idea. But I've come into this room to ask, is Taylor Jacobson here? Her daughter's had an accident on the slopes. And she screams out in her full lady voice as Taylor, Zoe. Right.
Of course. How can I forget?
And at that point, she's exposed.
Yeah. Not really a foolproof plan here. I think the lesson is to not dress up as Santa to get a short-term job at a ski resort. Do you think that's the lesson?
I don't think that's the lesson I would take if your daughter ever wants to go to a $15,000 ski resort camp and the only way to get her in is for a 50% tuition discount and you're already a man.
Did we get a sense of the pay stub situation for playing Santa for 11 days?
My feeling is that she was paid immediately, maybe up front, maybe in cash, because she seems to be in a much better financial situation. She pays her rent. And maybe that's the cash coming through from Cookie.
Okay. But just like 10 days at the Sun Peaks Lodge garnered $25,000. Like, what happened here?
Well, let's say it's $15,000. It's 50% off of that, $7,500. Let's say it's $8,000. It's 50% off. It's $4,000. And what do we know, Sean? That this Santa is paid $2,000 a week.
Right. Okay. Do we know if that's like industry standard? Post-inflation?
I don't know how that works vis-a-vis, union rates and different locations for different Santas. Okay. But sounds about right to me. Sounds like a couple hours of work a week should be yielding. I mean, they go on so many dates all of a sudden. She's never working.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I don't really understand this job. Like at all. I don't understand the necessity of a round-the-clock Santa who also is not present very often and is going on dates.
It's interesting that you struggled with the job of Santa and that one was okay with me, because I really struggled with the job of general manager, where his only job is to monitor Santa.
Good point. Well, we know that he's kind of a flunky, right? That he's like, he's a child of privilege who doesn't know how to succeed.
But is this place falling apart in the meantime? Because the only sort of villainous thing that Natasha really does is she sort of starts sabotaging him. And she is presumably not doing the job in his place because she doesn't want him to look good. And really but he does look good because of this amazing Santa that he's in love with. And really the only good thing that he ever does is not fire Santa.
Sure. Yeah. Great job by him. I mean, I think I find it hard to understand, like, what is the work that needs to be done? Like, do the troops need to be rallied every morning to perform well at the Sun Peaks Lodge? Does the events coordinator need to be, managed hands-on day to day to make sure that the events come off? The ski slope instructors, do they need a guiding hand every day? Like, this is a functionary. I say this as a management flunky. Like, what is this guy really doing?
Yeah. Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do anything. This thing is a well-oiled machine. It's working. Yeah, everything's good.
Getting, just shuffling around a couple files, doing a few things, being a nepo baby. I don't know how any of this is run, including the medical establishments in this film. Because let me tell you what, I also struggled with parts of the movie while having fun. I really had quite a good time when she shuffled out in full Santa lentil suit through the snow to the ambulance to see her daughter Zoe. And Zoe says, "Why do you sound like my mother, Santa?" And everyone kind of has to put it together, strangers, general managers alike, that Santa is, in fact, this child's mother in a suit. And people start asking questions. And as slowly as dramatically as she can, while her daughter maybe has a spinal cord injury, she full rips off the mask.
Yep.
And I want you to know in that moment, Sean, I didn't see Taylor's face and lady eyes. I saw your face and I said, I made Sean Fennessey watch this movie.
Well, I knew it was coming. It had to. As soon as she started speaking in her normal voice, I was like, there's no way we get out of this scene without her ripping the mask off.
And she kind of shook her hair out like she's on that moment.
I know. She looked majestic when she removed the mask.
She honestly looked better than ever.
I did say to my wife, is Taylor Jacobson wearing makeup under Santa makeup? Like, is that
well, she'd been at a formal party.
Right. It's a good point. I don't know how that works, having never really worn makeup. Like, is that navigable? Can you put a mask on your face when you're wearing makeup?
You would have to have a Kardashian level setting powder and spray.
Got it. Okay.
You would have to really be putting in the work to get
Thanks
that
for
makeup to stay. No problem.
I don't know what powder and spray is, but I'll go with it, whatever you mean by that. I do think she ran the risk of giving her daughter whiplash while wearing a neck brace. That was dangerous.
Everything she did was dangerous. Everything the paramedics did was dangerous. They were wrapped by what was happening in front of them, the drama. They just watched it happen. And they weren't like, ma'am, we have to get your child to the hospital. And then, you're right. We've been set up for this mask reveal. We've been set up for everything that's coming our way, including the obvious reveal that these two will be performing together at the end of Christmas concert. And basically, no one has a real problem with Taylor being Santa. No one less than Natasha, ultimately, who thanks, because she's reconnected with her daughter, she thanks Matthew and she apologizes to him. And I really struggled with that.
Well, Jodi, the film's incoherent. Or at least illogical. So it's a little hard to have like genuine emotional feelings about the decision-making of crazy people, such as Taylor Jacobson, who should probably be in prison.
Oh, yeah. A lot of kids sat on her lap without knowing who was who.
Yes. As a father, I'd like to say, put that woman in jail.
And they briefly entertain it. And then they say, you know what? We got to get to this Christmas concert. And you guys got to play guitars. Everybody's just waiting to play guitars. Sean, if I may, before we sign off, was there any moment in the movie that either you took as completely credible or gave you a small emotional tingle?
I think if I took my contact lenses out and watched the movie while also enduring a head injury, I would think this is honestly a fairly accurate representation of how hard it is to be a parent with no money at Christmas time.
Yeah.
But I would have to be able to not see her get dressed up as Santa Claus and then go get a job at a ski resort. And
That's
then
right.
I would feel like real concern and empathy for her character's struggle. But as soon as she was like, I'm going to enlist my gay brother and his partner to put on makeup, even though that also costs money, presumably. Why couldn't that money just go towards the ski school? We don't know, unexplored there. I'm just left feeling like she's nuts. And at the end of the film, Matthew obviously also nuts, has a lot of problems. And I guess it's nice that they found each other, so it's not so bad after all.
Sean, if I have received one Bingemas gift this year, it is being able to interrogate your relationship with Santa right here on this podcast. And I just urge you to, take it a little further. That doesn't have to stay here in this Christmas room that has been so, lovely decked out for you. You can keep turning on that one, and I will too.
Wait, so you want me to go explore a physical relationship with Santa? What are you asking? What are you encouraging here?
To keep exploring your
I got you to break on that one. That was great. After 50 minutes.
Actually, yeah, no, you're right. That is what I meant. I'm not going to, that's what I meant.
Well, maybe I will. Maybe
you will. And maybe you'll find a lady-eyed Santa.
You never know.
They're positively everywhere. They're definitely everywhere in Bingemas. Sean, I can't thank you enough for being here. Merry Bingemas. Thank you to Sasha. Thank you, Ashleigh. Thank you, Belle. We will see you back here for more Bingemas this week. And Merry Bingemas to all, and to all a good pod. Bye.